Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 482. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
What's up, people? How's it going?
And Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, everybody?
Yes, that's right, people. Only three of us tonight. We just had a mass death of the show, apparently.
Yeah.
Everybody's dropping off, son.
Everybody dropped off, and we did the Green Ranger calling the
we called him Riku, nothing, no Riku action. So Brian had a work thing. Chris is sick. We suspect Carlos has had a basketball thing. And Brett has a migraine, so you're stuck with us three tonight, Thankfully, we have a lot to talk about. A lot of controversial things to talk about, as a matter of fact. You already know. So we're just going to get right into it, man. The biggest story of the week, obviously, is that the Stellar Blade review embargo's lifted, and now everybody knows about the game. And now, finally, as promised, Richard and I are going to give our full review here live on Throwdown, man. We're going to go into it. Not only are we going to discuss the game, everything about it, but we will talk about the controversies. There's been many with this game. As always, you cannot have an exclusive drop without some controversies. Although the controversies involved with this game are some of the old ones we've had with other games. Very interesting stuff, man. All right, so Rich, let's get into it, man. I'll let you lead things off here. I read your review over at the Coalition. Excellent review. I really enjoyed the way you structured that in. You and I, we didn't really discuss the game too much beforehand, but I noticed we shared a lot of the same points. What we thought about the game. So what'd you think of it?
So first and foremost, as I said in my review, if you played the demo and you enjoyed the demo, I think you really will enjoy this game. I mean, coming into this game, before I played that demo, I didn't really know what to expect. Obviously, they showed this game during a PlayStation Showcase event back in 2021, and it was the same event that we saw Spider-Man and a few other games. So obviously, I figure they put it in that event to basically let you know this is something you should, watch for in the future. So, I mean, we saw it multiple times. I thought it was interesting when I saw it. But obviously, when I got a chance to actually play the full game, I walked away very impressed, very surprised with the overall experience. I know that last week on the Throwdown, we did mention the fact that the Nier Automata director was
Yoko Taro.
Yoko Taro. Yes, There you go. That he actually had an interview with this director as well, and was talking about how much he loved this game. And again, if you enjoyed Nier Automata, I felt that with this game. The soundtrack was amazing. The combat, I thought that was something that when I started out the game, obviously in the beginning, when you're not leveled up yet, it really is about paying attention to the attack patterns of how you're attacking these enemies, mainly the bosses. Like getting past the other enemies is not an issue, but of course, if they crowd you and it's a lot of enemies at once, then it is an issue. But it's about paying attention. But, once you get the combat down, you have your abilities, the combat is on point, and I think you feel a sense of accomplishment when you actually do finish those actual boss battles. As I said in my review, I thought the boss battles were a lot of fun. They could be frustrating at times in the beginning. You probably die a couple of times, but as you get better, it becomes second nature in terms of how you play the game. The storytelling, I thought the story was good. Again, a lot of the themes in that story, very reminiscent of Nier Automata. And then the fact that this is a post-apocalyptic world, there's a lot of lost. You see the humanity has lost itself, so to speak. So your whole job is to basically try to save humanity. You're going against these Natiba creatures and basically trying to turn everything around. There are, of course, multiple endings, and I only got one ending. I did not. Yeah. Obviously, I have to go back and play through because I guess there's 2 additional endings. There's a lot of things to collect. That's obviously, and I will tell you right now, I am one of those people that likes to play these games where I have to get a lot of collectibles, a completionist, if you will. So this is a game where I do feel that I may try to go after the platinum, but we'll see, because I gotta take a look at that platinum trophy list again before I come to that conclusion. Yeah. But overall, I thought it was a great game, and I think if you enjoyed the demo, you definitely should try it out, 100%.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And my whole thing was like, going into it, just like everybody else, I was very impressed by that initial reveal for obvious reasons. I'm like, whoa, hot girl kicking ass. Like, I remember these type of games. I remember thinking the same thing when I played Nier Automata. I was like, oh, it's like a throwback game to like a PS2 era. We had a ton of those, So this game was already on my radar. Played the demo. We discussed it on a previous podcast. Very impressed by that. I like how the combat is inspired by the Souls games, but it's not that exact. It's way more forgiving. Like you need to be on point. You can't be button mashing. You got to pay attention, but it is not on that brutal level. So, and like you said, Rich, is like as long as you pay attention, you'll be all right. Even when you get your ass whipped a bunch of times, like just study the patterns, you'll be good. So I really enjoyed that. But yeah, the thing that really stuck out to me was like just how good this game is. I know that sounds stupid, but it's like I was not expecting it to be on this level. Like, I thought it was going to be like not a copycat, but it's like I'm trying to be like Nier Automata. No, it's inspired by that, but it's its own thing, And the thing that really stuck out to me was the story. I really thought, even though, obviously, let's be honest, it's not original story or anything. Like, hey, alien invaders, we got to take back Earth. Oh, there's a couple crazy twists. Sure. But the way it's presented, it is very well done, very enjoyable. I felt the story was as finely crafted as the graphics and the combat and the music. Like everything about this game just screams AAA, and the fact that it's from Korea, in my mind, makes it stand out more. This does not feel like a Western game or a Japanese game. Like I would say it feels closer to a Japanese game, but this part is a little hard to describe, but I'm pretty sure anybody who watches anime, who play Japanese games will understand this. It doesn't have that Japanese weirdness where it's like there's always something a little odd here and there. It's like, oh, what's that all about? Like there's none of that here. It's its own distinct thing. You could tell it comes from a different culture than you're used to, and I think that's a great thing. I am very much looking forward to seeing more AAA games from Korea, because most of the Korean games I'm aware of, Lies of P notwithstanding, because that's another one kind of this ilk where it's like AAA single player game, but most Korean games have kind of been MMOs and stuff like Black Desert, but
MMOs and
mobile games.
The director even said it himself. He's like, it's AAA games are incredibly rare in Korea. It's mostly about MMOs and mobile games. In fact, what developed before that was mobile games.
Mobile games, exactly. This is their first AAA game, and I'm like, if this is the level of quality we're going to be getting from this country as far as AAAs go, keep them coming. Because Lies of P is another one. Like that game is like, I haven't played the whole thing. I only played like the intro part, but I was very struck by how well done it was, and I didn't even know it was a Korean game. I was like, oh, there's something different here. I didn't know what that was, and I think it's that aspect. But and this is something Carlos explained to me, because he's really into like Korean media and stuff, and he says that in general they really value high quality stuff. Even those mobile games we talked about, those MMOs, they look really good. They look very highly polished. You could tell they weren't just half-assing it. So that and me, I'm a graphics guy, so that really stuck out to me. And I do want to discuss that for a little bit. Manny, is there something else you wanted to dive in real quick?
I was just going to say that, like though the director does have a lineage within AAA development.
Yeah,
he'd been working in the industry for 30 years, and he worked on the Magna Carta series. He was the designer for it. So
Yeah.
I think it's just like, I think he really wanted to get back into that world again, get back into doing single player, those type of games.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I want to talk about the graphics because this game has 3 different modes. You have a performance mode, which targets 60 frames a second, and it ranges from on the lower end 1080p and goes to 4K. But it's like it chooses whatever it needs to keep that consistent 60 frames. Then on the other end, you have quality mode, which is 4K. It's not like true 4K, but it like targets that, and it's 30 frames a second. And then in the middle, the more interesting mode is balance, which kind of takes both. It's like 1440p most of the time, or pretty much locked, but it's mostly 60 frames a second, which I noticed very interesting. And this is something I didn't see from any other reviewers, and I'm not sure if it's a case with me. I noticed that the game would run a lot sluggishly after a few hours, but if I reset the game, it would the frame rate go right back up again. So there may be some caching issues going on in the background there that they may need to address. So just be aware if you're playing, because there was one day I went ham because I was off last week. I played for like 6 hours straight. And I noticed like even during a part, it was just an enclosed area. That frame rate was like 30. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And just, I was like, oh, I should probably eat something now because I just been playing for a while. Reset the game, came back. I'm like, and I was still in that same area, 60 frames. I'm like, okay, very interesting. So be aware of that. But yeah, I felt that's good. But at the same time, I'm like, as I'm playing this game, I'm like, I need that PC port already. I want that locked 4K 60, man. Especially with a game like this, I would suggest play it on either performance or balance because you want, with the precision required, you want that silky frame rate. It helps out a lot. Not that, because motherfuckers be like, oh, 30 frames is unplayable. That's bullshit. You can still play just fine, but there's no benefit to play in 30 frames because you don't get any graphical boosts. Like it's all the same. They're all the same all throughout.
The game. Yeah, the game is, as far as, at least according to Digital Foundry, is that it's
great video, by the way, they did.
The
yeah, it's all the same.
It's pretty. It's pretty even keel across the board. Maybe you get a little bit more draw distance, you get a little bit more shadow detail, but other than that, it's not really. The versions are really not that different. But to be honest, I feel like in general, like they're just using pre-baked stuff and all that stuff, so you don't need to run all those ray tracing and all those other things. I think they just. They wanted to put out a good looking game, but just not have to, you don't need ray tracing and all that other stuff for that to fully happen.
Yeah,
it's a very well done, even keel sort of type of game. And it's using Unreal 4, so which is commonly used.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with that. And interestingly, since you brought up Digital Foundry, they did, when they were doing their specific like comparison part, they actually found that balance mode has like better visuals some cases than 4K. Like in 4K, sometimes like it'll be a little too sharp, a little bit more jaggy stuff. But balance, and remember, jagged is balance is the default mode. So I kind of suggest don't even bother with the graphics settings. Just play the game because you already get that version. I feel having the game locked to 1440p is better than having it fluctuate. Between 1080p and 4K, or having 4K. Again, I don't understand the point of 4K if there's no more graphical things. Like, okay, so I'm losing frame rates here. Why am I doing that? So I think balance is the way to go. So yeah, graphics obviously awesome. I like the general art direction of the game. Very moody. I really enjoyed that. The characters really well done. I will say this though, because obviously huge controversy, before the game even dropped about, Eve's body, which was modeled after a Korean model, right? Here's something no one's talking about because the mired in this controversy. I can't recall another game that I played that a body was like based off a real person. So yeah, like Manny, is there one like I'm talking about like games that I played? I can't
Resident
recall that.
Evil, the recent Resident Evil games,
Like the actual body?
all those. Yes, the body and the face were all based off of other people.
Yeah, because I know faces have been based off people, but like they're usually stuck on like a video game body, as I call it. You know?
No, they've done. It's all been done before. In fact, that's one of the things that he was, was talking about during the making of this game. A lot of the things were actually, essentially physically scanned. So they scanned real people, they scanned real clothing, they scanned people in clothing, they scanned even the monsters were all designed by a special effects guy.
Yeah,
and
they were like they actually had like the
scanned
puppets
in.
and stuff or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, the maquettes. That's what they call them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, like it's been done. They've been using the bodies for a while now. To be honest, a lot of times it sort of it allows them to essentially, to get that realism without having to constantly be sculpting, something. In fact, the Spider-Man, those guys, all the characters in that game are all based off of real people. You remember when they swapped out that guy's face to another actor?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the body. So I'm talking about the body specifically.
Oh yeah, they've scanned bodies specifically for things. Like sometimes they'll mix and match. They'll be like, okay, we like this guy's this model's face, but we like this person's body better.
Yeah, in which game did they do that specifically?
Spider-Man, every single game that's out right now.
Yeah,
they've pretty much done something like that. Maybe obviously not for something like 5 Rush, but they did it for Resident Evil.
Yeah,
in fact. The previous Resident Evil games, the body of Ethan was a scanned body off of somebody. So
that's cool.
It's all done.
Yeah.
It's all been already done.
Yeah. Okay. So I was that's why in my review, I made sure to say, I can't recall that because I didn't want to say it's never been done. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because I felt Eve's body looked more realistic than the other characters in the game. like to me, the other characters felt like they had normal quote unquote video game bodies, and hers looked way realistic compared. So that kind of threw me off a little bit because I know it's too sexy. That didn't bother me. I quite like that. I'm a red-blooded male. I enjoy looking at a shapely woman. That's not the problem. But it did feel like sometimes like, oh, here's a real person next to these dolls, which is interesting because they were trying to call her a doll. But I'm like, they obviously paid more attention. If you certain costumes, yes, I tried the costumes, people. You could even see like the kind of the wrinkles of her skin and stuff. I'm like, that's cool that even all that little details there. But yeah, like I said, man, it's like they went all in with some of this stuff, right? For the most part, because obviously if you kind of go off the beaten path, you will see some funky textures here and there, as expected. This is still Unreal 4. Unreal in general, you're always going to see some unreal textures, as I like to call them, no pun intended. But for the most part, that's only if you're like a crazy person like me or even Manny who'd look for this sort of stuff. Generally speaking, the average person, I notice that they'll just be floored by all that. The art direction's good. I really like the use of lighting, and the world just feels really, it feels alive yet ethereal and unreal at the same time. It's a really cool thing they did there. And I want to go back to Rich. You were talking about the music. Okay, if you listen to Throwdown I'm talking about even the STFU and Play Days. Hell, if you go back further, if you've been following me and Manny since 2010 when we were writing for Cool Stuff the blog, I even wrote about this shit back then, right? That I felt that video game soundtracks had fallen off because most game soundtracks, at least the Western ones, try to be like movies, and movie soundtracks are not meant to be in your face. They're meant to kind of just, give you the mood or whatever, right? This game, the fucking soundtrack stands out, man. Just like Nier Automata. It is fantastic. Like every single track. And Manny, I don't know if you could verify this. This is the internet. Somebody said that it's the same composer. Is that true?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, can you look it up, please? Because if that's the case, that would make a lot of fucking sense. Because the music feels like Nier music. Like every single song or most songs have some kind of like female vocal associated with them, and lots of different types of music. Like you have like big sweeping orchestral music. You have like poppy kind of music, jazzy stuff, some rock stuff, some metal.
There's also
shit.
metal.
It's like everything. The production value just blows me away in this game, man. And now I want to get to the combat, because that's the other thing. I'm like, whoa, this is way better than I expected. Like I said, very challenging combat, but it's not super ultra crazy brutal. Like if you pay attention, you'll be good to go. Like you get little hints, like when you see Eve's blade like glint a little bit, like glint blue. It's like, okay, you gotta press forward and circle, and to like do like a side slash. And then there's another one where you hit like down and circle, like when an enemy flashes like kind of purple or whatever, and then you kind of do like a counterattack, and that's where you could also open up on them with your machine gun. We'll get to the machine gun in a bit, because I found that very interesting too. What is this, Barry Byrne? Unreal Engine 4 means we get an enhanced PC port in 2025. Fergus Mills, what's up, man? I don't understand Korean, so I don't know what you just wrote there, but pretty dope. So yeah, the combat really satisfying, and even though I don't think there was a lot of variety in the enemy types, I think the way they were presented to you in any given scenario was interesting, because they always switched it up. It's like, okay, this enemy with this enemy, this amount of enemies, maybe it's just one, maybe it's just two, maybe it's a whole bunch. So you're always on your feet trying to figure out. And I always felt trying to master the combat was very satisfying. I never quite got there. I got my ass handed to me plenty of times. I'm kind of trash. I've always said I'm not good at parrying, so I had a little bit of difficulty with that. But apparently, because a lot of people were complaining about like input lag in the game. See, being honest now, I thought it was just me. I thought I was just fucking trash. Like I press L1 to dodge, to parry, excuse me, and it doesn't happen. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, okay, it's just me. I'm trash. I'm 44 years old. I'm an old man. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Fine. I didn't want to blame the game, but it turns out, no, there actually is legit 0.5 second delay. The director said this himself. He said that was kind of to keep the animations more fluid, but he did say when you press the button, your action registers. It takes a while for it to come out, but now they're apparently patched that. Right, Rich? You said that they're going to patch that for like day one?
Yeah, it's actually already been patched. It's already
patched.
fixed.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so Manny, check this out.
Along with the new game plus. No, the composer also, to answer the question, there are 3 composers for the game. None of them worked on Nier.
Okay. So check this out. This is what Fergus Mills just dropped. 40% of the soundtrack was developed by the Nier composer studio, not the composer, the studio. The other 60% was made by people inside Shift Up. That kind of makes some sense now, because, like I said, the music is highly reminiscent of Nier Automata. Sometimes where I'm like, is this from Nier Automata? Like, it's real like that. Which also made me want to play Nier Automata again, because that's a fantastic game. But yeah, the combat, fucking dope. As I said, I really enjoyed the story, the twists and turns. I didn't see the other endings, as Rich said, because, and this is, I don't know if this is going to be changed, but as you read my review, my biggest complaint with the game was there's no, you can't manually save. It's all like just auto saves. Very frustrating. This is not a problem with this game. So I've been complaining about this shit ever since fucking Batman Arkham City.
You can manually save.
Not in
when
this
you
game.
Sit in the seat.
No. I'm talking about go to settings, click on save, and then select the save file. You can't do that.
But you see, you don't select a save file, but you do as soon as you press the save button when you sit in the seat.
That's the only way that's a save, but I don't consider that a hard save. I consider that the equivalent of what I had to do in Batman Arkham City. Is like when you go through doors in that game, it like auto saves. So I'm like, okay, that's a save then. So like, okay, sitting in a stupid chair is a save. that is not the
You
same
have
as
to press a button. You have to legitimately press a button to do the save, though.
Yeah, but
you
you can't like make a file. I can't make three separate save files. You know, understand what I'm saying? You can't do that, which sucks because that would have allowed me to see the other endings. You know, like when you beat the game, when you go back to your previous save, the save it makes for you. You cannot make a choice. You're stuck with the choice you made, even though you're sent back to the point before that. If you had a manual save, I could have just selected something an hour beforehand, you know, which stinks.
Or you could do the dirty version of that, and just as soon as you know that thing is going to be coming along, what you do is you just go back in. You load your save from a backup that you've made, and then you can go in and get the other ones.
Yeah, but it's like you shouldn't have.
What I did with Bloodborne.
Yeah, but Bloodborne had that too.
Bloodborne had auto saves in it too. But the way to get all the endings, if you wanted to do that, you could just literally go in and just get those and go back in and keep doing it. Or you could do that you could play that sexy new game plus that they added literally before the damn game came out.
Which was not available to us, Rich,
Yeah, that was not available to us, and I will also add that I discovered that in that new game plus there are other powers you can get as well.
Yeah, I saw
There's
that.
Other abilities.
New abilities.
Yeah, so
they added more abilities. So they fixed things. If you think about it, like they're pretty good, Johnny on the spot when it comes to this thing. Like, obviously, they were developing a new game plus, but like you look at like some of the other games, it's like 3 or 4 months later. When did Spider-Man get the new game plus?
Yeah, exactly.
A year?
That's a great question. Spider-Man 2, I think it was March, right?
Yeah, it's like,
March is when they released it.
5 months after the fact or something, like
yeah,
that's crazy.
5 or 6 months after the fact, they got all that stuff. Granted, I'm guessing obviously those games are a lot bigger, than this game, I'm guessing. But like it's kind of cool, like to be able to essentially, get rid of any sort of objectionable things that were inside of it.
We will talk about that.
They fixed the latency, and not to mention they added a new game plus with a bunch of new abilities in it too.
Pretty dope stuff. So these guys are doing their thing, man. There was some other go ahead because I there was a point I wanted to make. I lost it, so go ahead.
Well, this is a question for you, Tony. Yeah. What did you think about the traversal, swimming?
Yeah.
And the puzzles.
Yeah, let's get into that. That Rich, you're the man, because I was like, hold on, there's something I wanted to bring up. That's exactly what it was. The other stuff. What did you think of them first? I want to get your take on that.
Well, some of the traversal stuff was okay. I was frustrated in some instances because if you need to climb a certain building, you got to go around the building and find different ways. Like, for example, there's one part in the game, no spoilers, where I have to get to the top of a building. And in order to get to the very top of a building, I have to go on another building that's directly across from it and then jump from building to building, do a little puzzle that will allow me to then traverse and jump onto a wall and then jump onto another building to get to that building.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of that is, it took me a while to figure that out, but I mean, it is a lot of fun, but some of the stuff, when you see certain things that you wish that she could jump on, she can't jump on. So that could be a little aggravating at times.
Yeah. The infamous yellow paint appears in this game.
That's how you know you're on the right track. If you see yellow paint, oh yeah, that's probably something I got to jump or climb.
Yeah. Yep. So. Pretty much. Yeah. I let's talk about that. I didn't go too deep into that in my review. I probably should have, but there's a lot to cover with this game. I was glad they had platforming sections because it breaks up the combat. Because like if you have a game like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, they have some of that, but it's not really an emphasis. In this game, there are entire sections that is pure platforming. You got to have your shit on point. I enjoyed that for the most part. I know what you're talking about exactly. There's this part in the desert where you need to do a side mission on one building. So it's like, because Eve has this like homing thing, and you see, oh, it's up there, but it's like, how the fuck do I get up there? And you got to go around, it's like 3 buildings down, and you got to do all this stuff. But I enjoyed the platforming, but I will say I didn't enjoy a lot of the puzzles. The puzzles, bro, some of them were okay, but there's this one specific puzzle, and it happens right before one of the final bosses in the game, where you got to use like both joysticks at the same time simultaneously, cross these wires and shit, and like one wire could go over one wire, but another one can't, so you got to figure it out. I was there for like 10 minutes doing this. I'm like, I just want to fight the fucking boss, you know? So hopefully, like, even though I don't endorse this type of stuff, I hope there's a option to skip that shit, because it doesn't affect the gameplay. I felt a lot of those puzzles just stopped everything, you know? Generally, it was okay because they were just short and simple, but that one specifically, even Gene Park called it out. It's like, yo, what the fuck are we doing with these wires, man? You know? And it was right, but you know the boss is coming too. Like, come on, man, what the fuck are we doing here? You know? But for the most part, even though that one not that great, I like the fact that they broke things up. And I did feel the platforming, even though platforming could have been a little bit more precise to my liking, it's not terrible either, and I'm glad it was there. I didn't die too much. There was only one part with like lasers. I was getting fucked up a little bit. I
remember the lasers.
Yeah. So had to do that. I want to talk about side quests, but before that, Rich, let's talk about the gun combat, because he does get a gun. You know, you got a gun. So yeah, she gets like a, you know, because she has this drone that flies around with her, but the drone actually attaches to her arm. You get to shoot enemies. There are levels where you could only use the gun, which I found very interesting, to say the least. But I'm glad at least the gun combat is not bad. I felt it was very competent as a shooter. But I'm curious to see how other people will react. I didn't have a problem with it personally. And for the most part, you could kind of just not even worry about the gun. But yeah, Rich, what are your thoughts about the gun combat in this? Because you could upgrade it too and everything, like different types of shells and everything.
Yeah, once you're upgrading it, you know, you have a shotgun, all these other weapons, the missiles. Yeah, that stuff is awesome. The only thing I was going to say is, and I said this in my review, one of those missions where you're using the gun and you get to the boss battle, that was where I saw the frame rate drops.
Ooh.
For one particular part where it's shooting a lot of projectiles at you. I guess that because there's a lot of stuff happening on the screen. You know, there's other enemies in the area, so I understand that. That's the only time that I noticed any frame rate drops when I was playing this game, and maybe that also got fixed with the patch. But it definitely was noticeable because it was slowing everything down. I thought my console was just going to stop the game, but I still was able to get through it. It just lasted for a brief period of time.
Yeah. No, I had the same thing with that boss fight. I know, when he launches a lot. I will say this, though, that annoyed me because one of the highlights of the game to me were the boss battles, right? They're all really, really good. But for those there's 2 levels in the game where, you know, you're just using your gun and it's the same fucking boss type. It's like, there's no difference. The pattern is exactly the same. You know, the typical standard, hey, shoot the glowy parts so it shows you a bigger glowy part and shoot it. It's like come on, like it's like a shittier version of Resident Evil in that respect. I mean, just be real, you know. So those bosses were kind of weak, but the other bosses, man, they are great, you know. And I think you and I fought the same final boss. No spoilers, obviously. We're not spoiling anything too big here. But that boss fight was crazy. You know, and I like how towards the end of the game, they kind of introduce more things like, hey, if you don't like shoot out these things from this boss, this is when the guns actually are necessary. Like basically a boss will prepares a 1-hit kill attack. and you got to like generally attack, like destroy whatever orbs or whatever may be floating around it, and it'll stun the boss. But if you don't do that, you will get creamed. I had that happen to me in one of the bigger boss battles before. I'm like, fuck, yeah, you know. But the gun is pretty cool. Again, there's moves where you could weaken a boss or even enemies, and like they'll have like a glowy thing, and you shoot your gun, and it'll like kill them even faster. But it's kind of like the Devil May Cry games where it's like the gun's there, but it's not too important. You could for the most part, ignore it. But there are some boss fights where you absolutely have to use them. And in 2 levels, obviously, we have no choice. But that was good. And now I want to talk about the side quests. There are not a ton of side quests, but I felt for the most part, they were meaningful. They help expand the world. I really liked some of the characters you get to meet, and you find out their backstories. I will say this though, and this is, I said the same thing about Taki, you know, Eve's friend. You know, in the beginning, I'm like, why do some of these characters look more attractive than Eve? You know, in the face, like, whoa, what is going on here? It's like some of these girls look way hotter than her. I found that very interesting, you know. But there's this one like robot girl, really cool backstory. I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody. Really cool. Some of them, so side missions, you don't even meet the person. You just go to like a bulletin board. And you just kind of select it and go to the wherever you're going and select it. That was all right. I noticed that the girl that hangs out near the billboard, I think she has the hots for Eve. I might be wrong about that. The way she talks,
no, she does.
Yeah, you could tell. It's like, okay, homegirl. Eve wasn't about that life though. She's like, hey, chill.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it tells you that the character is self-aware, because you know, obviously they have this thing when you keep buying from the shop, it builds your affinity and connection with the actual person. And that was when I noticed when I started buying a lot of stuff, that's when she would try to hit on her. So that's definitely there.
Yeah. By the way, Fergus Mill says, I've been on mute half this show. I got to play with as little detail as possible. You may want to come back to this podcast then, Fergus, because this podcast is kind of more or less dedicated to celebrate. Obviously, the second half of the show will be other gaming stuff. But I do suggest you please listen to this episode after you've played Stellar Blade. Even though me and Rich are trying to do our best not to spoil anything, but I understand some people don't want any information at all. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of operating on the assumption that's like, as long as I don't spoil any story stuff, you know, gameplay is good to go. But yeah, side quests are fun. I will say this though, I wish you receive, because you get most of your side quests in the city of Zion, which is like the last human thing. But usually the pattern goes, you go to a new area, you complete it, you come back to Zion. There's a bunch more side quests when you got to go back to the previous area where you just left. I'm like, I wish there was a way that you just got those missions up front before, you know, so you could just kind of clean it all out. How do you feel about that, Rich?
I agree 100%, because a lot of times, like obviously when you go to Zion, as you said, as you start to see all these side quests, you're revisiting levels that you went to from the start of the game.
Yeah.
And then in some of those levels, there isn't like, you can't do a fast travel to certain parts. You have to get to the level and then get to a certain part that has a phone, and then you can go to another area in that within that level. So that that some of that stuff is it got to be a little bit much. Yeah. But I did enjoy the side quests though.
Yeah,
I will say I enjoyed the side quests. Some of the side quests you definitely need to play, because there are bosses in those side quests as well. But no, I enjoyed the side quests. And yeah, I do agree it wasn't too many of them. And I did think it was funny that when you go to that board, when you're selecting all the tasks, there are some tasks where Eve will also refuse to actually do the job.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, like if they're like more nefarious, she's like, I'm not doing that. You know.
Yeah.
Since you brought up Eve, I want to talk about her because some people have been complaining that like, oh, she doesn't have enough personality, this side of the thing. Yeah, I don't. I even said that in my review. I'm like, she doesn't really have much of a personality, but you still like her because of how determined she is and her loyalty to her friends. The classic kind of hero archetype. It's like that's how games kind of used to be. It's like you don't give the protagonist too much of a personality, so you can kind of put yourself in their place. But Eve, it does have a lot of determination, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, there are some characters around her that obviously have more flavor than she does. Some interesting characters in this game, for sure, man. But yeah, there's some side stuff. I'm like, wow, this is like it feels like their own little stories in and of themselves. But yeah, it would have been nice because it's like, oh man, like I just finished this level. Oh wait, you got to go back and do all the side quests there now. It's like, couldn't you have given me all those side quests so then I can just move on? So that's fine. And Rich, you brought up, yes, you can fast travel within levels with the phone booths, but you can't do it from every camp because there are more there are more camps without phone booths than with phone booths, but you can't fast travel in between those. But I didn't feel it was too bad. Like, even though the levels were pretty big, I didn't feel they were like overwhelming. And I did enjoy that too. It's like the very first level is very deceptive because it's very linear and you think, oh, the whole game's something like that. Then you get to that first desert level, like, oh shit. Yeah. Like this is serious right now. And then you get to the second desert level, it's like, whoa, like huge. Yeah. Oh, I gotta bring this up, man, because this is an Asian game, right? There's a motherfucking fishing game in this thing. I was like, when I saw that, like, I am not surprised by any of this. The fishing mini game is kind of fun. I didn't really delve too much into it because I just kind of wanted to just focus on the main stuff. But I do want to. That's one of the side quests I didn't finish, like catch 3 of this type of fish. I didn't do that one.
Also, Rich, same. Yeah, go ahead. Same one. That's the same one I didn't finish either.
Yeah, I was like, I'm good, bro. So Rich, you
in the
go ahead, Manny.
In the 2 Nier games, they both have those fishing games, but they always add, like, the way they usually, when you complete them, they usually add, like, there's actually some sort of interesting story plot things that were into it. So who knows? I don't know if they went in that direction with this one, but maybe
I'll do it in New Game Plus. But yeah, because the guy who gives you the fishing mini quest, you could tell that guy has a story to tell. No spoilers, obviously, but you could tell that dude. He's been through some stuff. And it makes sense that he went fishing.
They're like, not to spoil an older game, but you guys should have played it already. But like for Nier Replicant, right? The fishing game, you keep doing these different fishing, get these different fish. There's different areas that you can fish, and if you catch or get all the fish that this guy is looking for, you finally come back and you see, you don't see the old guy who taught you how to fish there, and he's like, there's another guy sitting there, and he goes, oh yeah, that old man was kind of a dick, right? He all he would do was just complain and moan, and he would just be a hassle on the community. Maybe, but maybe the reason why he did all this, you went through all this stuff with it because he wanted to at least pass one good thing into the world, even though he was such an asshole. So it's like stuff like that. Like they give you a little bit of like, okay, he may have been, he seemed like a nice old guy to you, kind of a cool old guy, but no, he wasn't. He was kind of an asshole. So yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Fergus, we did mention your comment about muting it. Like I said, please make sure to come back to this episode after you've played the game. We're trying our best not to spoil anything, but I understand you want to go in clean, so that's all good. I think I hit most of my main points. The side quests were dope. The worlds were, now you can mute now, Fergus. The levels are really big, very varied. I enjoyed that. There was a lot of different types. Obviously, you're still on Earth. So, and sometimes beyond, and there's a lot of variety in the levels. I never felt like if they were retreading each other. Even the 2 desert levels are very, very different from each other. Like one level you could liken it more to like the Arizona, another one's like the Sahara. That was dope. The space stuff is really cool. And there's some other little fun things I don't want to get into. I'm like, oh, that's pretty dope. But yeah, overall, Stellar Blade, fantastic game, fantastic new IP, new triple A IP. Like you don't see this shit like nowadays. Everything. I said this in my review. This is a refreshing change of pace from the deluge of remasters, remakes, and fucking sequels that we've gotten, and cross-gen games that we've gotten all this generation, man. You know, if you guys been listening to me on this podcast for this entire generation, I've been complaining this entire time. I'm like, where are the games? We finally something here. It's like, thank you, you know, and it's not half-assed. It is exactly the type of game I've been waiting for, man. So I'm really glad we got Blade, and you know, like I said this before, it's like it makes me hungry for more more Asian games that are not Japanese. Motherfucking Black Myth Wukong, and that's coming on August too, like August 20th, I think. Give me this fucking game. That's a Chinese game, obviously, but that's gonna be legit. You know, another kind of Souls inspired type of game. But I think that DNA is gonna be in everything kind of now. Which shows you that, you know, Souls games aren't niche like people keep saying. I don't understand how you can say, Dark Souls games are niche. Elden Ring sold 15 million copies, man. That ain't niche. You know? Fergus Mills, is this the best current gen only game out? At the moment, it is. You get for new one, because obviously, to me personally, I'm juggling between this and Final Fantasy Rebirth. But what is Rebirth? It's a motherfucking sequel, you know? And, you know, as I complained with Rebirth, that game has
it's a sequel remake.
It's a sequel remake. It's both. You know? And it also has, even though I really enjoyed the game, it has a lot of fluff to it. A lot of fluff. So you said this in your review too, Rich. You said you completed this game and almost everything in 30 hours. So did I. Respect our fucking time. I really like that, you know? Like, I got to do almost everything in 30 hours. That's great. That is fantastic, you know?
So, in quick comment, and shout out to Fergus Mills. Fergus, I think you're really going to enjoy this game. That's my spoiler to you. If not, we need to have a conversation about it. But I'm pretty sure you'll like this game.
Yeah. So yeah, Stellar Blade, dope, and I predict this game's going to sell very, very well. You know, because the combat is real. I think that demo shut a lot of people up, because I think a lot of people kind of wrote this game off as like a titty game or something. It's like, it's just TNA, whatever. And that demo drop, people were like, oh shit, this is real. You know, this game could star a dude and it'll still be good, you know, because the combat is so enjoyable, you know?
I mean, again, I also point out, like, that is also what sold people on Nier Automata. Not only because of the previous of the old games, but just getting into that demo that they put out where you got to play a decent amount of gameplay. You got to really, you know, pretty much played that whole intro of the game. Yeah. You know, and just get a good sense of the way the combat works and all that other stuff. So I feel like, you know, a lot of, you know, again, all power to Shift Up on this one, because they not only did they put out a demo, the game wasn't delayed. They also patched the game before it even came out with the new game plus, you know, and then they weren't, you know, and they also didn't you know, flood the market with like 10 different, you know, special editions of the damn game. I mean, that seems like it more ways than one. It's definitely a throwback to older games.
You mean where you get a game that is complete?
You get a game that's complete.
No microtransactions, none of that bullshit.
Microtransactions. Everything that you unlock in the game is what you unlock. You know,
Manny, you brought up a good point. They said this in Digital Foundry. It's like, no bugs. There's no bugs in this game. It's just, it works. No bullshit. You know, it's like
they say the game works. It works really well, and you know, a very sort of like, you know, throwback to older games, or in other words, they're not their aftermarket stuff. The only addition that they did at the end of this, you know, like day one patch, is actually a really awesome day one patch, which literally has a new game plus and has new weapons and new things. They even added quality of life changes. Yeah. So look at that, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny you bring that stuff up because like you would think that should be kind of standard, but it's actually not. The fact that you're mentioning that is very rare, and that's kind of sad. But it also shows you how much this developer cares, and that's a good thing, you know. And Manny, just to jump on that point, that is the other thing that I really like about this game. You could tell they really put a lot of care into this game. It's not perfect. There are some rough edges, obviously. But you could tell there was passion behind this. This wasn't just a money grab. They wanted to deliver something really, really cool for the fans, you know? And I think they did that.
I think the thing about it is it's like they have officially they have a lot to prove.
Yes.
As far as being essentially one of the only AAA games from Korea.
Yes.
Which is insane to say. You would think that, you know, obviously with a place like Korea that, oh yeah, you know, they not only develop those other games, but they also have like their, you know, they have their those sorts of single player AAA games, but you can't really name anything with a scant few.
Yeah, Lies of P is the only other one I could think of. Yeah.
I think the reasoning for that one is that one was very much a Western game, and I'm thinking that's why it didn't get put up as the sort of poster child of Korean game development, right?
Yeah. No, I think you're right because, like I said, this game, again, I'm not very familiar with Korean culture, but like I said, this game does not feel Japanese or Western. And I'm guessing that is because it is really embracing the Korean aspect of it. And that's great. That's fantastic. Isn't that something people keep talking about? Like they want more diversity in games? Well, there you go. Yeah. You know, this game doesn't feel Western or Japanese, and that's great, you know?
Is it, you know, the thing about it is like, you know, we have
Big Mike, what's going on, man? I had to give him a shout out real quick. Go ahead, Manny.
You know, we live in a world that, you know, obviously people, you know, we talk about underrepresented, you know, cultures, right?
You know,
and here is one that is underrepresented within the gaming space. So I feel like, you know, there's a lot of criticism that happens, but it seems like that's getting thrown at this thing. But you guys are not looking at the fact it's literally a country that has next to no AAA like development, and I think that's the reason why so much care was put into this thing, because they had a lot to prove.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And what's kind of interesting is like I feel, you know, because that's another thing that I love about this game. It's like it made me more interested in, like, you know, Korean culture, specifically, you know, the newer stuff. They call it the Hallyu. That's like the Korean wave that was on by design. Like the Korean government was like, hey, we want to impact the world. We want to put our culture out there. So you could tell they do so much when it comes to their movies, their music, and all that, right? But the gaming part, it was there obviously with MMOs, but you're right, Manny. Like the AAA gaming stuff, that isn't something they're known for, and I think this could pave the way for more of that, because they obviously are. Like again, I've been watching all this Korean stuff. Like, okay, I see the level of care and attention to detail they put into their works, and you see that in the games too. So if we get more of that, that'll be awesome.
And there's actually a series of behind the scenes that are showing up on PlayStation's YouTube.
Yeah, I've been watching those.
Yeah. And like one of them, the director says, yeah, like I really want this to sort of, you know, kickstart like this sort of more of these type of developments within, you know, Korea. Like I really want these things to sort of, you know, again, like have our voices out there, not just, you know, Japan, you know, or, you know, a couple or other, you know, or other, you know, cultures. So I'm like, I think that's cool. So here you go.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. You know what? Because I did want to, you know, go into some of the controversy surrounding this game, but we already talked about it for an hour. And to be honest, now I kind of don't feel like talking about it anymore. I kind of got all the shit off my chest before the show. And I think it's just better not to give it any air now that I'm really thinking about it. It's like the game's dope. Go out there, but obviously, Rich, if you want to chime in on some of this stuff, you're free to. But I will say this though, real quick before I let you go. I do think a lot of people who are talking smack about this game look very stupid right now, because this is a legit game. Even people, I've read some of these reviews. The reviewer goes, I wanted to hate this game, but I can't because it's too good. I've seen this. I'm not making this up. You know, it's like, yeah, like maybe you shouldn't have judged it. Maybe you shouldn't have been prejudging it beforehand. You know, the same people who keep telling others that they need to be more open-minded, maybe you should drink your own medicine and not be a fucking hypocrite, you know? Anyway, go on, Rich, and not be, and I'm going to say it.
I don't know. That sounded like some fire.
Yeah, and not be racist towards Asian games, because you guys seem to do a lot of that, and this is something Manny and I have talked about for like over 15 years that we noticed is when it came to game journalism. Like, why is it that, you know, obviously more in the Japanese space, but it's like, why is it that these games get way more scrutiny than Western games doing the same shit? Very interesting. Anyway, Rich, before I go off, go ahead. You know?
So, yeah, I just want to make a comment and say I agree 100%. Don't really feel like getting into any controversy, but I will make this comment. This is a shout out to all of you, Throwdown, as well as Torrance Davis.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing to do, you can listen to the controversy if you want to, whatever controversy is out there, but you need to play it for yourself. So STFU and play the game. How about that? Just shut up and play the game. Don't worry about what these people are talking about that haven't played the game, because some of the controversy that I saw was from people who haven't even played the game. They see somebody say something bad about the game and they haven't played it. So until you play it and form your own opinion, I wouldn't worry about what other people think. Just play the game and then you'll know whether or not you like it or not. Simple as that.
Yeah. Big Mike, how you doing, man? He goes, I saw one review that gave Stellar Blade a 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10 because it is over-sexualized, but they gave Baldur's Gate a 10 out of 10. Think about that. The game with a conventionally attractive woman gets 4 out of 10 for being over-sexualized, but the game where you can fuck a bear gets a 10 out of 10. Very interesting. I'm not making that up. You can fuck a bear. That's Baldur's Gate claim to fame. You can fuck bears in this game. You know, very, very interesting.
A metamorphosized.
Yeah, metamorphosized bear. But that was the thing. Like, we can fuck bears in this game. 10 out of 10. Okay, bro. You know.
Let me just make a quick comment to that and say, I think that's an interesting comment that they made, because clearly they are focused on only one thing specifically about the game. Forget about the story, the gameplay. This woman is too hot, and I have an issue with that. I don't understand that, but I will say this. Yeah, I mean, when I played the game, I mean, anytime I play a game, it's whether or not it's a good game. I'm not worried about how attractive. Yes, Eve is attractive. There are a lot of attractive characters in this game. Okay, we can say that. But I don't really care about that. I want to know whether or not the game is good.
Yeah.
You know. So that's interesting.
But yeah, I don't want to give the controversy too much more. I predict this game's going to sell a lot, and it's going to get people upset. Although my one fear is that we may have another Harry Potter situation where, like, when awards season comes around, that this game may get overlooked. Although I believe this game will not be as overlooked as Harry Potter because people don't hate the creator of this game. You know, so I think it may get snubbed in some places, but I think the real places will give this game its due. And I think it's going to sell very well. Again, people have been starving for a real PS5 game that is only for PS5. That's a brand new IP. That's good. Like I said, when that demo dropped, man, that shut a lot of people up. They were like, whoa, this is good. And like I said, Eve could literally be replaced by a guy and the game would still be as good. You know, it is solid fun, man. Again, great combat, awesome presentation, precise combat, wonderful music, meaningful side quests, and just everything you want in a game is in Stellar Blade, man. It's fucking awesome, you know? Go get it. It's out now, basically, you know? Manny, any thoughts? I know you've been watching it you're getting the game, aren't you?
Oh yeah, it's I did the usual if you get it direct from PlayStation, which is what is called direct PlayStation,
Yeah.
and you have a PlayStation Plus account, you get free shipping and day one delivery. So tomorrow,
Oh,
Hey.
on the launch day, I will get my game.
Did you get the
Don't
special?
need to use Amazon, and
Did you get the special edition?
there is no special edition.
Isn't there like an $80 version I saw?
No, there is. I mean, there's the digital deluxe edition.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe no, not even that. That you get like when you get the game, like when you pre-order the game, they give you some additional stuff that you can put in, but there is no like digital. There's no alternate versions of it.
Not like Star Wars.
Just
I remember
one.
that controversy.
Yeah, like well, I mean, like there's nothing to confuse you. The one that you can buy at the store is the one that you can buy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, you're right, man. Digital deluxe edition. That's what it is.
It's a digital deluxe edition, but I mean, is what it is.
And
I mean,
it's
they just
yeah,
and
and
it usually
it's a lot of cosmetic stuff. Nothing really too crazy.
yeah, it's the usual thing that people the lot of games do. They all have that sort of thing where it's like, oh, you can put a bunch of fun outfits on the character.
Yeah.
Hi-Fi Rush has the same thing too. So no, I didn't buy a digital deluxe edition. I just bought whatever edition was available, as a physical.
Yeah.
And that's it. Oh yeah, and the physical edition has a reversible cover. And if you look at our throw it on featured image, that is the cover of the on the reverse side. You remember when they used to do that too with physical games, where they had alternate covers that looked really nice on the opposite side?
Yeah, they don't do that anymore.
That's on there. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of these
I mean, Miles Morales had it, but the other ones didn't. The later one didn't. Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. All right, cool stuff, man. All right, that Stellar Blade will get the game. And now we're going to talk about other things that are not Stellar Blade. We actually have a lot of stuff here, even though it's only us three. We got to talk about Xbox revenue, people. Very interesting. So, who gave us it? Who's that? Fergus Mills just subscribed. Thank you for that. Appreciate it, sir. So basically, usually when Microsoft drops their like quarterly earnings, it's like everything. Hold on, I think somebody just made it rain subs, man. Big Mike.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think somebody just subscribed for a bunch of us. So thank you for that. Their quarterly earnings, and Chris always has a hard time parsing the shit out. Because it's like because they kind of mix everything together, Microsoft. But thankfully here, Mr. Tom Warren from The Verge broke things down. So I'm just gonna read from his article here. This is specifically about Xbox. I'm not gonna talk about Microsoft Surface and any of that nonsense. Over on the Xbox and gaming side, Xbox content and services revenue, which includes Xbox Game Pass, is up 62%. This is once again thanks to Activision Blizzard revenues making up the bulk of revenue, which makes sense. Microsoft revealed in February that Xbox Game Pass has now grown to 34 million subscribers, including the Xbox Game Pass Core, which was previously Xbox Live Gold members. 4 previously Xbox exclusive games are now available on PS5, with some launching on Switch as well. This strategic shift is limited to these games for now, but it appears to be in response to a slowing of Xbox Game Pass growth and Xbox console sales. So remember, revenue is up for Xbox, but console sales are down, and Xbox Game Pass subscriptions have kind of stagnated. So here's a quote from Satya Nadella, obviously runs Microsoft. We're expanding our games to new platforms, bringing 4 of our fan favorites to Switch and Sony platform for the first time. In fact, earlier this month, we had 7 games amongst the top 25 on the PlayStation Store, more than any other publisher. We discussed that on the previous show, how when you look at the top selling games on PlayStation, 7 of them are now Microsoft games. Manny, as you rightly pointed out, those games had already been there because they were, Call of Duty or Fallout or whatever. Technically, there's only 2 on there that are from, when after the acquisition happened, which was it Grounded and Hi-Fi Rush, I believe. Those are like the 2.
Yep, those are officially the newer.
Those are games that were not there previously. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, they're going to boast about that. But it's very interesting. It's like, hey, our games are selling better on other platforms. Isn't that something?
It's like, hey, our games are selling on already platforms that they were already on. That doesn't, it's definitely a feather in your cap, but it's definitely keeping information, not being a little bit sneaky about the information that you're giving. It's like, but they're not going to say to their investors, oh yeah, but those are the games that were sort of already out, and we're just sort of collecting the cash off of these. These are ones that are already there. I'm sure, right now, especially since the Fallout show is doing so well. In fact, it bumped, like, Fallout pretty much got a resurgence all across the board.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all the Fallout games. So, say this, you can't say, now you can't say, but that most definitely having a successful show that's respectful to the original content does really help to push something, doesn't it? Too bad that Halo didn't have that, because maybe it could have helped them with their Halo problem.
Yeah. Jay Shep goes, are the investors stupid or something? I would think they would be smart at that. No, investors are generally dumb as fuck. They just follow the money.
They're following the money. So they're like, oh, hey, wow, we're making more money now. Wow, this is great.
Yeah.
So because a certain bit of things.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
So I would like to give my official response to this news. This is a early, once again, another indicator. Microsoft will be putting more of their games on other platforms. Yep. I know Phil Spencer said, "Oh, it's only 4 games that are coming to PlayStation and Nintendo." All right, so that will change. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. When the Xbox has that June showcase event, you'll probably hear some other announcements about other stuff coming over to other platforms.
You know what that makes me think of, man? It's like no, it's only going to be the tip. I'm only going to put the tip in. Don't worry about the tip. And then before you know it, the whole cock just goes in the air. Like, fuck. You busting too, you motherfucker.
But here's the thing. In general, like, where are the platforms where people are essentially buying things? That's for PC, and that's for PlayStation, and that is for Nintendo. All of those things, obviously maybe some of them may have little bits of subscription services, but what is the bread and butter? The bread and butter is the sales, and that is where we've said this before on the show in the past multiple times. So the selling of software is the key. So officially, as much as everybody says the best deal in gaming, yes, it is the best deal in gaming. But the thing about it is they literally cut into their own sales by doing this. And this is precisely the reason why Sony doesn't do day one games, because they've even said it and people called them stupid, or they didn't want to devalue their titles, which means they don't want to not make any money off the games that they're putting out.
Yeah, I agree. And that's actually a good segue to the next part here. Remember, the revenue is up 62%. Revenue, right? A lot of it because of Xbox Game Pass. What about the console side? Let's talk about that. Despite some early successes for Xbox games on rival platforms, Xbox hardware is down a massive 31% this quarter, a big drop following a soft quarter for Xbox sales during the all-important holiday season last year. Microsoft admits the obvious in its earnings filings, that the big drop was driven by lower volume of consoles sold. Yeah, why would you need to buy a console when you could just subscribe to the service on another platform? Let's be real here, Go ahead, Rich.
And I'm surprised that they did not come to the realization and announce, well, ladies and gentlemen, we haven't been releasing games. So, of course, nobody is going to buy a console if there's no games to play. I mean, why do they need to have the console?
Yeah. and even as the report said, a lot of the gaming revenue came not because of new games they released, but because they acquired Activision Blizzard. They didn't come from brand new games. They acquired these games and it just not artificially, but it boosted sales because again, investors just like, oh, they got Call of Duty, that's it. Let's go. All right, next part here. Overall gaming revenue is up 51%, bolstered by the additional Activision Blizzard revenue, which contributed 55 points of net impact. That means okay, this is going to be interesting. Okay, that means without Activision Blizzard, Microsoft's overall gaming revenue would have actually declined this quarter. The newly acquired division recorded $1.97 billion in revenue during quarter three, but the cost of integration, transaction costs, and other costs of revenue all total $980 million, with other operating expenses $1.34 billion. It calculates to an overall operating loss of $350 million for Activision. So think about that. If it wasn't for that acquisition, the revenue would have been down, even for gaming. Ain't that a bitch? That's something, man. That artificial bump up, son. Very interesting. Two more paragraphs here. Xbox content and services would have only been up following the last one. Xbox content and services would have been up a single percent without Activision Blizzard. So it's clear that this giant purchase is already having a big impact on Microsoft's overall gaming revenues. It looks like next quarter is going to be a similar story for gaming at Microsoft too. Microsoft CFO Amy Hood says the company is expecting Xbox hardware revenues to decline again next quarter, alongside overall gaming revenue growth in the low to mid 40% region, with around 50 points of impact from Activision Blizzard. Xbox content and services revenue is expected to be up in the high 50% region in quarter four, driven by 60 points of impact from Activision Blizzard. So they expect console sales to continue going down, and revenue to, I guess, keep going up because of the Activision Blizzard. So it seems to me that now we really understand why they did this. They, like you said, Rich, no games from them, so they needed a boost, and they got it. But, my question is, how long is that going to last for? It's like, okay, yes, it looks good on paper to have Activision Blizzard under your portfolio, but if you don't get games from these companies that you just acquired, people are going to be like, what's going on here? And it's very, very telling that they're like, yeah, our console sales are going to keep going down. And remember, Rich, even Phil Spencer said, we're not worried about selling consoles anymore. He said this. Said this, So I don't know, man. I'm wondering if there's going to be more of these Xbox cope spaces on Twitter after this announcement. If our boy Tim Dog's going to be doing another 17-hour fucking spaces talking about this,
Well,
go ahead, Rich. Yeah, go ahead.
All I have to say is just wait until June, everybody. The Xbox showcase will blow everybody away, and then they'll announce we have like 7 games dropping between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, oh my God. J Shep goes, again, I'm not sure why Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard after knowing this. I think it's pretty clear why they acquired them, because they needed to bump up the revenue for their games. Yeah, because they don't have anything. And so by acquiring Activision Blizzard, they automatically boosted up their revenue for gaming. That's why they did it. Go ahead, Rich.
And to piggyback off of what Tony just said, they acquired Activision because at least they know there's a Call of Duty dropping later this year, so they can get a lot of revenue from that. It makes sense, I guess, because I don't know what other game Activision is dropping this year. Just Call of Duty is the only one I know of. So
yeah, I don't know. J Sub goes, but why just shut it down? Shut what down? I don't know. Yeah, Call of Duty. Yeah, it's clear they're going to ruin Activision Blizzard as well. It may happen. That's a possibility. But we'll see, man. All right, moving on here. I wish Chris is here for this story, but we'll do our best. We got to talk about Nintendo being litigious as always. So you guys know Garry's Mod. They've been around for 20 years, more. And now Nintendo has sent them like it's not a formal suit yet, but they pretty much said like, hey, can you get rid of all the Nintendo stuff you guys have been modding all this time? So they didn't even like try to fight it. They were like, okay, we're getting rid of all this stuff. Like Steam put out a statement to the players. It's like, yo, if you've done any Nintendo inspired mods, get rid of that shit. Like get it out of here. You know, because they don't want Nintendo coming after that ass. You know how Nintendo gets, you know? So let me read this here from Ars Technica. The popular long-running source engine physics sandbox Garry's Mod has begun to take down Nintendo-related items from the game's Steam Workshop page following an apparent takedown request from Nintendo. It's not apparent. Like Garry's, I think Garry himself came out and was like, "Oh yeah, this is real. Like this is happening." You know, in a Steam community news post, mod creator Garry Newman writes that some items have already been taken down as part of an ongoing process, as we have 20 years of uploads to go through. Indeed, combing through the over 1.8 million Garry's Mod Steam Workshop add-ons to find all of Nintendo's copyrighted content is sure to be a significant task. No shit. A simple search for Pokemon Thursday morning turns up nearly 3,000 seemingly copyright infringing results on its own. Here's a quote here from Garry's Mods. If you want to help us by deleting your Nintendo related uploads and never upload them again, that would help us a lot. Shit, that's crazy, man. So yeah, there you go, Nintendo doing its thing. I'm curious as to why it took them 20 years to do this. Why it didn't go.
My guess is they probably found something.
Yeah,
you know, it probably came across their desk and they're like, "What the fuck is this?" You know, like you know how disconnected Nintendo is in general, right? So I'm guessing that's the same thing with all the emulators. Those emulators existed for years, and now all of a sudden, they're like, "Nah, you got to get rid of this stuff." It's because it passed over their desk, and they're just like, "Fuck, we got to do something about this." You know,
yeah,
and that's all there really is.
I think that's probably exactly what happened. That's what. But okay, the name is spelled differently, but Garry Newman. That's here in my car, I feel safest of all. Is that it's that's the, but it's not the same guy. But that's what I'm like. Oh, like Garry Newman. That name sounds familiar. In cars, we're gonna get copyrighted now.
No, we're not gonna get copyrighted for singing a song. If we were playing the song,
yeah, then we have a problem. Yeah.
Story.
So yeah, Rich, you have any thoughts on this latest happening with Nintendo?
Well, yes, Nintendo rules with an iron fist, so gotta anticipate that they're always going to step in if they feel they need to take some control of the situation. I haven't played this game. I don't play too much. I don't have a Switch either, so not too much of an impact on me, but yeah, it's interesting turn of events.
Yeah, not surprising, All right, I want to move on to this next thing. Now, usually when it comes to, these type of rumors, I don't like to talk about them, especially since the leaker in this case is a Twitter user. But since it's Ubisoft, who has a horrible track record when it comes to leaks, and apparently this guy has leaked a bunch of other Ubisoft stuff. Because again, Ubisoft is really bad when it comes to leaks. People saw leak shit on planes and shit, So I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna give this a little bit of credence. And also the subject matter, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So apparently the rumor suggests is that Ubisoft is abandoning the Watch Dogs series. It's over. Apparently Watch Dogs Legion sold so poorly, they're like, yeah, we're good. We're done here, Go ahead, Manny.
To be honest, why Watchdog Legions did so shitty is because they literally abandoned everything about Watch Dogs for a multiplayer fucking game. So, it's their own fault that they killed their own franchise.
Yeah. And
Go ahead.
They had DLC. They had DLC for this game to try to bring back Aiden Pierce, the guy in the first game. Yeah, so I'm not surprised by this news. I do believe that it may not be 100% confirmed, but we haven't heard nothing else about this series, and I don't know what else they're working on aside from another Assassin's Creed game and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the real question is, Star Wars. Yeah, Star Wars. The real question though is, where the hell is Beyond Good and Evil 2?
That's the $1 million question, man. I remember that they quote unquote revealed it at E3 10 years ago. It's insane, man. Fergus Mills goes, it's only a matter of time before Ubisoft gets bought by Microsoft. Don't say it, man.
Yeah,
but like I said,
that could happen.
Yeah, but I'm saying Microsoft, they're going to lay low for a couple of years. They're not going to do any big acquisitions, and then they're going to come back with a fury. Manny, I think you might be muted.
Especially with the FGC being all sensitive on them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're just going to be taking a little bit of a break from all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, at least until Khan gets out of there. That woman has it in for Microsoft, man. It's crazy.
There's a couple. There's actually a couple of places that she has. She's also going after of Apple too.
Yeah, she is. She's trying to take out everybody.
She's trying to take everybody out.
That's a vindictive woman, man. I feel sorry for her husband. If she's even married. Tony shouldn't assume. But yeah, Watch Dogs, very interesting franchise to me because obviously the first game, extremely overhyped. When it was showed, everybody lost their fucking mind, including lots of us here on the podcast, me included. You saw that demo, man, that they ran at E3. Was that E3 2011, man? That shit was crazy,
Yeah. This also was where the controversy started about the downgrade of when you saw the actual game.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so this is one of the first games, I believe, where we saw this, one of the first Ubisoft games, I think, where there was the whole downgrade controversy. So it has not had a good history with this franchise. Although I will say, our boy Garry Swaby loved the second game.
Second game was good. Second game was good. Yeah. I will admit. So here's just quick history. So yeah, obviously the game fucking catfished us. If we were not shown what we were expecting, with the first game, even though I do feel the first game is a decent open world game, it is not. It did not live up to the hype, even though there was some promise there with the whole hacking thing. That was kind of innovative back then, but the graphics weren't what we were showing. Man, even now, if you look at that shit, it's impressive. But yeah, then they came back with the second game, totally new cast of characters, different city. That was a good game. I enjoyed that very much. And then they fucked things up with Legion. It was like, hey, remember how these games were about characters? Fuck that. Now it's just a bunch of NPCs, Yeah, Watch Dogs Legion, not good. Not good at all, and there you go, man. Hey, it's funny? I reviewed all three of these fucking games for different outlets, man.
Oh, yeah.
I may have. I got to check on this. Did I review Watch Dogs 2 for Coalition? I may have. I'm not sure.
That's a good question. I know Garry. I know Garry did a preview for that because that was one of the games we saw at E3, and he got a chance to play it.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, because I reviewed Watch Dogs for DualShockers. And I reviewed Watch Dogs Legion for PC Mag, but I know I reviewed fucking Watch Dogs 2. And in between that time, I was at the Coalition. So I think I may have reviewed it for the. But you know how it is, Rich. You review so many fucking games, man. You forget what you review,
Oh, yeah.
You know how many times there's been people come up to me, man, like, man, I love your review of so-and-so. I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm thinking, I don't remember reviewing that shit, It happens, man. You can't remember all that stuff, And then sometimes I read my old review. I'm like, yeah, it was a good review, Well, let me look this up on the Coalition. I got to indulge my fucking curiosity here, Watch Dogs 2, because I like Watch Dogs 2. That was a good game,
I'll make a quick comment here and say Ubisoft Toronto that worked on Legion.
Shit, I did review it for the Coalition. It's right there.
Oh, see?
I reviewed
there you
it.
Go.
Yeah, I reviewed it on December 7th, 2016. Cool.
Damn.
All right, so there you go. Go ahead, Rich.
That's awesome. Yeah, no. So, no, I was going to say, so Ubisoft Toronto that worked on Legion, they are supposedly working on the next Splinter Cell game. I believe that is a rumor because I haven't heard anything else about this game. That's feels like a cruel joke to even mention it, but that is supposedly a game that they're working on now, according to Wikipedia. But again, that cannot be 100% accurate all the time. We'll have to wait and see. And also, the director on the Legion game is now working on an Assassin's Creed game. So, like I said, I don't think Ubisoft is working on this franchise. At least not right now. They aren't.
Yeah. No, they're done. They're done. I obviously, like you said, this rumor is just a rumor, nothing substantiated here, but I could believe it, especially at Ubisoft, just, few franchises that haven't touched for a while. Where's Splinter Cell? Where's fucking Rayman? Where's real Prince of Persia? Like, what are we doing here, Splinter Cell's got to be the worst insult, man. They didn't do some fucking mobile game or something. It's like, what are we doing here, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here. Another story. This one's interesting. I noticed that nobody in the. Oh wait, you know what? Never mind. I'm not going to talk about that because it's actually an old story. Sony patents autoplay game mode. I don't know why we didn't talk about this on the show. I'm not going to say any names, but there's certain in gaming personalities that would probably like something like this, where it's like the game just plays for you, But let's move on to this is new news, and this is hilarious. Our favorite game, Rich, game of the year here. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
I wish Brian was here because he's the one that always looks at these numbers for us. So this is a story from Windows Central. Shout out to Windows Central. They're one of my peers. We're all under Future. And the headline, man, Rocksteady's Suicide Squad game sinks to an all-time low player base, which doesn't bode well for the game's future. The poor reception and sub 118 concurrent players bode an ill future for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. For context, that the Avengers game was canceled, right? The game's done,
Yep.
No more updates. That game has more people watching it. Think about that. A canceled game that's over has more people watching it than a brand new game that's still getting DLC. That's fucking crazy, man. But as we said, and I've said this in my review too, one of the worst games I've ever played in my life. Absolute trash on two levels, right? First, games as a service nonsense. We're done with this shit. When I was playing this game, I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's like we're like doing a throwback to 10 years ago when Destiny was still hype, right? So you got the games as an aspect bullshit, games as a service aspect, fucking bullshit. And then the utter disrespect of DC characters that is committed by this game. The fucking, come on, the shit they did to Batman and pretty much every other character except Wonder Woman. She gets treated fine, but all the other characters get shitted on. Terrible fucking game. I gave this shit a 2 out of 5. The only reason I didn't give it lower is because the game isn't broken. It works. It works. You put it in and it works. But that, just for you guys, insider baseball, unless the game is broken as fuck, 2 out of 5 is the lowest I will give a game. So this is like gutter trash low, absolutely fucking terrible game, man. Go back to my episode on Suicide Squad that I did earlier this year on right here on Throwdown. Fucking, I will repeat this all day, every day. Trash, absolute trash, Karma, says fucking J Chef. He goes, where are all those people defending the game on Twitter? Bet they're not playing it. Yeah, you know how it is, bro. You know how it is. People out there. I remember there were some people standing for this game. Did you buy the game, bro? You want to stand for a game? You want to support a game? Buy it. Play it. But you don't want to do that, do you? You rather get on social media and talk your shit, you know? All right, I want to read the story. This is fucking hilarious to me, man. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, just can't catch a break. Ever since this live service looter shooter from Rocksteady Studios launched back in February 2024, it has been bombarded with harsh criticism from fans and critics for repetitive gameplay, heavy amounts of microtransactions, disappointing storytelling, and characterization. Yes, everything that was just right there, spot on. Shitty gameplay, horrible transactions, absolute character assassination, you know, and insult to the fans who've been with those characters for decades, you know. To compound the game's poor critical reception, Steam DB has shown that the concurrent player base for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has sunk to an all-time low of 118 players. 118, bro. That is insane. The above chart, they got a chart here, represents the game's player base since it launched, which has quickly gone downhill these past months, only getting a small bump in players when the Season 1 update with the Joker was added. While this chart doesn't represent its total player base, as SteamDB doesn't factor in Xbox or PlayStation, it certainly is. So it's just the Steam, you know, people playing it on Steam. It's certainly an indicator that things are not looking good for Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. For the sake of comparison, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League is being outshined by other live service titles like Helldivers 2, which is a new game, and Fallout 76, which is an older game, but, you know, obviously it's been, you know, it's got new content, which are enjoying huge amounts of concurrent players at this moment, with over 30,000 players for Fallout 76 and over 84,000 for Helldivers. Very good for both of those. Helldivers 2 has trailblazed the live service game, being a surprise hit that caught everyone off guard with its polished gameplay, consumer-friendly microtransactions, and a never-ending stream of content updates. Meanwhile, Fallout 76 has boosted in popularity thanks to the Fallout TV show, renewing interest in the Fallout franchise, and over half a decade of content updates that have maintained player interest despite its rocky launch 2018. Yeah, Fallout 76 had a redemption arc for sure. To get an idea of what Suicide Squad's future might look like, you could consider Marvel's Avengers by Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics. Marvel's Avengers had similar problems to that of Suicide Squad to some degree, yet has proved vastly more successful, reaching a peak record of 31,165 concurrent players in 2020, according to Steam B. Despite that, it was still shut down by Crystal Dynamics in 2023 after being deemed a commercial failure. Yeah, that game, not very good. You know, by comparison, Suicide Squad's current peak record of concurrent players was shit. This is the peak. This is the best it ever got for this game. The best. 13,459 when it launched. Avengers did way better than that, you know, and has plummeted much further and faster than Marvel's Avengers. In short, these numbers paint a grim future for the game's lifespan. Grim, it's dead, Jim. It's over, you know? Dead on fucking arrival, man. You know? That's what you get. This is what, Manny, we talked about this before. This is what happens when you get a studio that is typically known for single-player games like Square Enix and fucking Crystal Dynamics with Avengers. When they put them on a live service game, this is what happens every single time. You know, and fucking Ninja Theory, when they did their game too, womp, 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 womp.
Exactly. Time and time again, this gets proven. Number one, mandates by bigger companies saying, "Hey, we need to do this. We need to do this thing." Another one, Crystal Dynamics. They're doing a service game. These guys, another one doing a service game. They did two companies that did service type games. Both crashed and burned. The ones that did the Arkham, Arkham Origin games. They did the previous the Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights, yes.
And And then Rocksteady was doing doing another service game. So they obviously were looking at all the service game trends and said, "Hey, we need one of those." Same shit that Sony tried to pull too, or PlayStation tried to pull.
Yeah.
This in a space where it is incredibly difficult. Even the only reason why Destiny came through with flying colors, even though it was a piece of shit when it started, right? It was garbage, but enough people bought the damn thing to keep the damn thing afloat. But what you look at, like the later iterations of Destiny, it's not doing as amazing as what you see every single one of these companies. What was it? The guys who did Mass Effect with Anthem, game that's dead right now. Right?
Another example.
Another one.
Yep.
Another one. Every single situation you see here, and it's the same outcome. These traditionally like single player studios attempting to do a multiplayer service looter shooter deal, and it doesn't work out because they don't have it.
Yeah.
Because like the thing about it is, and also like I would say this, like, I think one thing about the difference between with Destiny is also their gameplay was on point. Like it did the thing it was supposed to do. You shoot really good in Destiny.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things that saved that. I don't think that the Avengers game had compelling gameplay at all.
No, it didn't.
It wasn't that good.
Same thing with Suicide Squad.
Again, not having compelling gameplay. I hate to say it to some of these guys, but stay in your lane.
Yeah.
You're good at doing this stuff, and it sucks because it probably wasn't them that said yes to this shit. It was probably Warner Bros. Saying, "Man, these games are costing so much. We need to get a service game to get a constant revenue going on these things." But to be honest, the DC franchise is not the place to do that.
I agree.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And like even with that group with DC Universe Online, you're not playing Superman. You're not playing. They're part of the world that you're in. You're playing a unique character. But that company was known for knows how to make a multiplayer game, and I think that's what it should be. If we're gonna go down this line, don't give it to the company that has been traditionally good at doing these sort of single player experiences. If anything, build a new studio that handles that sort of thing, and make sure that whatever studio that's being tasked with this isn't blowing, essentially killing their budget, trying to put this thing out there. But again, that's just neither here nor there. The thing that pisses me off about the Justice League, not the Justice League game, but the Avengers game, is that it literally overshadowed. Its stink was so horrible that it affected a legitimately good game that company, that Crystal Dynamics, put out with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that stink got all over Guardians of the Galaxy. We were like, I'm not playing that shit. I didn't like Avengers. It's like, it's not that type of game. It's the game you wanted Avengers to be,
Exactly.
But yeah, again, like time and time again, when you have a single player a company that is known for making single player games, and you have them do a multiplayer game, it never results in a good result. It's always bad. We named like 4 of them tonight. It's like, stop it. Idiots, man. But again, they're chasing that fucking money. It's like, oh, look, that game's doing well, we got to do that too. It's like, but look at the other companies that have failed at this shit. Maybe, like you said, stick to your lane. Stick to your lane. You're gonna make money. You will make money. I say it's better to make, because obviously you're not gonna make because they're hoping that they're gonna make fucking Fortnite money. But I'm like, would you rather make less money than Fortnite and still be profitable, or considerably less than even that? It's like, I would rather go with the option that gives you some good money, doing the thing that people know you for. Stick to your fucking lane, man. Disappointing. Rich, you have any thoughts on Suicide Squad?
Yeah, the game that's hot garbage. I noticed that they released the Joker content. I haven't heard anybody talking about this. So Yeah, I don't think the game will last for much longer. I will be surprised if it's still around by the end of this year.
Listen, man, I'm going to say this right now. I'll be surprised if Rocksteady isn't the next studio that goes down.
Oh yeah, that could happen.
That is a shame, considering what they gave us with the Batman games, But this is what happens.
To be honest, I don't. And this was news that came out during the week of that game. All the founders of the of Rocksteady that made the games that you love left and made their own studio.
Mm-hmm.
So
that tells
to
you
me,
something.
Whatever that is that's sitting right there, that's called Rockstar. Called Rocksteady. That is not the studio that you remember. And to be honest, I don't even at this point. I have very little faith that they can perform and make those games that we loved from a previous era.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. It's
not the same people. Yeah,
it's the same. It's the same situation. I'm very tentative with the guys who made Mass Effect as well.
Mm-hmm. They left.
So, all the founders that made those games that you enjoy all left. So, what are these games are going to be like? We've obviously seen what a world what they come out with Mass Effect Andromeda. So, yeah.
Another one, by the way, Barry Burns says Suicide Squad killed the studio.
It's disappointing, and I hate to hear. I would hate to hear that they're going to be, because it's never fun when people are losing their job. But if you're paying attention to names, if you're paying attention to the movement of people, and all of a sudden seeing a bunch of, it's essentially, granted these names are not like a Hideo Kojima leaving Konami, right? So,
Yeah, no, you're right. Very upsetting, man. All right, and the last thing I want to talk about, we got to talk about Adam Sessler, man.
Yeah.
So he once again had another epic meltdown on Twitter, and it got to the point where he decided to delete his entire account. And to be honest, I think that's probably for the best for his mental health. It's like, dude, Twitter's obviously not good for you, man. Like, ever since the Orange Man got elected, he's really got off the handle. And in recent months, ever since what's going on over it in Israel started popping off, he's just gone crazy. But in general, this guy, it's interesting to see how unhinged this guy has just become over the years, where he even said, he fires out, I hate you gamers. He flat out said this shit. He's like, I never even liked games. Like, I hate you guys. I did this for the money. Just calling people all types of stuff. And it's kind of upsetting because people, back in the day, when he hosted, X-Play, enjoyed him. He was a kind of interesting character. But it turned out he was just, a hateful, spiteful man,
I don't know. I
think that the mask coming off too,
No, I don't think it's really. I don't think it's a situation with the. I don't think it's a situation where with the mask coming off. I think it's just. I think he internalizes a lot of the shit that's going on. Like I don't believe. That I definitely think that a lot of a lot of the complaints and the things from fans have sort of caused him to go off the rails. But I think he was paying too much attention to the loudmouths. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's obviously hard not to do that. So I feel like something throughout the years of dealing with that sort of with the loudmouths has pretty much broken his brain.
Yeah, no, and it led to resentment.
I don't believe for 1 second when the same guy that was doing what was it? Not Reset or whatever the hell that site was. I can't remember the name of the site that he did after X-Play.
Yeah,
he legitimately was doing good work at that point. Like even like like hearing him essentially talking during the time, but I think. Ever since that time, he's essentially just a slow decline into madness for him.
Yeah.
And I definitely do think that in general, it's probably for the best for him to sort of get off of social media.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just sort of but the thing about it, I don't foresee this being very long.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I think he'll be back too.
Because just like most people who have their hissy fits and go off in their world, he probably has a fucking burner account somewhere so he could still read his shit. I think the thing about it is that he's so as much as he sort of hates that thing, he's also attracted to it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on this, Rich? Adam Sessler's latest hissy fit.
I just was going to make a quick comment on this. I'm pretty sure that Manny saw this as well. He was on David Jaffe's show a little while ago. They had a podcast discussion, and it looked like somebody brought up again the Bros Before Hoes trophy in God of War, and he went off on that because they kept asking that question. If they thought it was offensive, well, obviously in today's world, yes, it is offensive. But I saw even when he was talking on that show, like everything, the conversation was calm. Then someone asked that question, and it was a little bit of a triggered response. So I thought that was interesting.
He literally exploded when somebody mentioned that thing. So
I gotta watch this clip now.
It's because he was having a cordial conversation with Jaffe, and they were talking about all the different game industry, and it seemed like they were having a good thing. And then as soon as somebody mentioned that trophy from in that controversy that happened with it, and then him sort of talking about it, that's when he sort of that's where he sort of lost it again.
That's crazy.
It's a shame. It's I had a lot of respect for the guy, right? Yeah. He did a lot. Like he was doing. If you listen to his history,
Revision 3
he was making. Yeah, Revision 3.
That's
when you listen to his history on, like, he said he was doing X-Play for the money. No, he wasn't. He wasn't getting paid shit. He didn't even have a fucking cameraman. And he was filming that stuff on his own at Metreon. That was the original extended play.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that guy just was doing it for the money? No, I think he genuinely had an interest in it. But I think once the the wave of internet started hitting him, that's what drove him nuts.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with that assessment. I think he was, because you could tell he was passionate about this stuff, especially in the early days. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he internalized that hate. Because here's the thing, because I get it. It's very easy to let that internet hate cloud your thinking about the fans. It's happened to me. It's happened to me. But I kind of take a step back because I go, hold on, bro, hold on. He doesn't seem capable of that. Because I've gotten to some point where like, man, fuck the gaming community, fuck the fans, because some of these guys get very toxic. But it's like, Tony, it's the internet, bro. You can't be taking this shit seriously. But I don't think it's two things. I don't think he has that capability, and I don't think he has anybody around him to tell him otherwise.
No, I don't think there are people maybe that he doesn't have certain people with him that just say like, hey dude, just cool it. Like you gotta realize that there's as much as people you hit all the criticism and all that stuff, there's genuinely people out there that enjoyed the work that you did. And I feel like that's the thing he really needed to start to look at, not just all the again, the loudmouths will drive you nuts. That's why guys like Hideki Kamiya was so fucking hard on people on Twitter, because that got to him.
Yeah, it did. I'm telling you that stuff. It's easy to get to you, man.
Exactly. So, you have constantly people asking, and they know, and the problem is that once the internet knows that you start to overreact when,
the bear,
they'll keep poking the bear and pushing the button. And that's and the thing about it for Adam is that same button continued to work.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. It kept working. People kept pushing. Look what happened to the Jaffe show. Look what happened. He can't let that. He can't even laugh it off. You know,
he can't
literally
even,
over 10 years. We covered this story on STFU on Play. That's how long ago this shit was. It was over 12 years ago, and it still triggers him 12 years later. You know, he doesn't know how to let you go. And I didn't think about this until this conversation. He doesn't seem to have a good support system that tells me, Adam, chill out, bro. It's not that serious. He doesn't seem to have anybody like that on his side, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we got each other, you know, like, keep it real. We have conversations sometimes where, so, you know, like behind the scenes, we're like, yo, don't let this shit get to you or whatever. You know, I talk to Danny in Paris about this stuff too, you know, because again, people look up to you, right? And even in our case, we got to throw ourselves in that same boat too. People look up to you. They respect you for your opinions. If you start going off the handle and make yourself look like a fucking idiot, all that respect that you've earned will be gone, because it's very hard to earn respect, very easy to lose it, you know? And nobody treats Adam Sessler seriously. Now it's more of a sad case. And I was like, man, what happened to this dude? You know, because a lot of people looked up to him, myself included, man. The thing I liked most about Adam Sessler was his written reviews. I'm like, these are so well done, you know? But now it's hard to look at his good work without thinking about the fucking madman that he became, you know? That shit broke him, you know? It's upsetting, man. So it's a good cautionary tale. You know, don't let this internet shit get to you, man.
I think the thing about it is that also not enough people said those things to him.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
To the point, as loud and as clear as all of the criticism that came toward him. But, you know, this situation his self-destruction currently, that has nothing to do with, you know, obviously he's having all these issues. But what happened, why his self-destruction is definitely an issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's, you know, what he said obviously is most definitely an unpopular position. You know, but he felt that he needed to say these things, and he should have known the repercussions of the things that he says.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't. In this case, it's like obviously, it doesn't matter if you feel like you might be the victim. You got to look at the optics of the situation. You know, and this is why we even say, like, okay, so if he did have some sort of support system, he could be talking to somebody instead of venting on the internet about these things, these things that he has going on with him, you know, that he feels. Any conversation with somebody, just talking with somebody, I feel like that would help him out
immensely,
you know.
But it doesn't seem like he has anybody like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or worse, whoever he does talk to eggs him on. You know?
Yeah. Oh, you should totally say that. That's even worse. So it's like, yeah, he really should have looked at the optics of and the repercussions of the things that he said, of the things that he says. Doesn't matter if his opinions are your own. You, as soon as you put your opinion out there, you are privy to the court of public opinion.
Yep.
And that is what what happened.
I agree.
And he couldn't stick around for that because because it pretty much, what he said can literally affect a lot of shit.
Yeah. And I agree with your assessment. I think he'll be back. He'll be back.
I think he'll be back. He may be back right now. He may be, hiding in the wings with another name, just so that he could still continue to get those kicks by looking at what, at the Twitter. Once, like, people, that problem with Twitter and a lot of social media is it's incredibly addictive.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, alleviate yourself of that addiction. You're always wanting to get that little, what do they call it? Doom scrolling, right?
Yeah, doom scrolling.
You just continue to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling.
Yeah, you get the dopamine hit, when you talk shit or whatever. No, it
you
is,
get that
man.
little
Yeah.
you get that little dopamine hit when you get that little like, or when somebody agrees with you, or any of that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad stuff, man. But Adam, I hope you get some help, man. I truly mean that. This is not good for your health, bro. All right, on that cherry note, start wrapping it up. Rich, what's going on with the coalition, man?
Good question. So, as I mentioned earlier, yeah, I do have a Stellar Blade review currently on the website right now. There are a couple other things we're working on behind the scenes. There are a couple other reviews that will be getting posted up soon on the website. So I would say stay tuned. As for the podcast, no podcasts as of yet, but there is some stuff coming. So just stay tuned to thecoalition.com and we'll provide some updates on all this stuff.
Good stuff, man. You know what's fun, Rich? Like, before I used to, before you joined as an official member, I would say, do we have anything to plug? And everything that we used to plug was always associated with the coalition. So now it's just easier for me to go, Rich, what's going on with the coalition? Because either you or somebody else on the podcast is going to be involved with it. So, that's pretty dope. It's like, what's happening with the coalition? And it serves the same exact function as, what do we got to plug? Because it's always like I'm vegan or invincible or something like that, which is pretty dope stuff, man. Manny, you have anything you could talk about?
Right now, what I have going on is on April the 30th, the DC is going to be releasing the spring. I can't remember the spring festival book. Anyway, it's a collection of stories from the DC universe, and I'm working with a longtime artist friend who just did her first DC book. So it was nice to do a little thing. She actually specifically asked for me to do this comic. So it's really nice to it's been a minute since I've done stuff for DC, so it's nice to have that out there. So yeah, that's going to be out this on April the 30th. So yeah, and then also coming in July, I have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 40th anniversary special book, which is coming through IDW Comics. Me and Kari Randolph are back doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003, the show that I worked on as part of the staff, and Kari did all the licensing artwork and a bunch of other development for the show. And we have our original showrunner, Lloyd Goldfind, doing the story for our little section. So it's really great to be able to come back again. And I did a cover, and me and Kari did a cover. So got a lot of fun 2003 stuff coming along coming in the soon. So probably in July that's going to be out. So yeah, that's what I got going on now. Still, I got a little bit more waiting in the wings to, obviously for the go ahead to talk about. But yep, that's all wait there.
Good stuff. Big Mike, like Coney. Yeah, he's like, what's in the cup? It's just water. I'm not, it's just, I don't know if, it's just water. That's it. Nothing fancy. He's like, is that Cafe Bustelo? I did have Bustelo before the podcast, but it's midnight, bro. I'm not drinking no fucking coffee at midnight, Just drinking some water, just keep it healthy, Make sure I don't spill this shit on my fucking keyboard. Big Mike's like, is that vodka? No, I'd be fucked up if it was vodka, bro. All right, man, so we're done here. Make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified for when our premieres go live. And obviously, hit us up on the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. You can also follow us on every podcast app by searching for Throwdown Show. That's 2 words, Throwdown Show, and throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. So links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
And Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
All right, guys, you already know we will be back on Sunday with hopefully more of the crew. All right, guys, later.
Later, guys.